What if the way you see the world, what feels beautiful, what feels wrong, what even counts as real, is being quietly shaped by something you never chose and can't take off? Hi, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the Seek Learning channel, where we explore history, philosophy, ethics, and religion with curiosity rather than academic jargon. Today we're looking at worldview, the invisible framework that filters almost every judgment we make, usually without us even noticing it's there. Imagine you walk into a small shop you somehow never noticed before. The air is still. On a velvet stand sits a single pair of glasses. They catch the light as if they have been waiting for you. You pick them up. The frames are heavier than they look. You slip them on. The moment the lenses settle against your eyes, something locks. You reach up to take them off, and they will not move. The arms have fused to your temples. The bridge has sealed to the skin of your nose. These are no longer glasses you can remove. They have become part of how you see. These lenses do not merely tint the world. They shape what you find beautiful or ugly, what triggers guilt, whom you consider important, how you respond to tragedy, and whether you believe your life has any lasting meaning. The truth is, we are all wearing these glasses that shape how we see the world. Most of us never notice we are wearing them. We simply look through them and call the result reality. Those glasses are what scholars call a worldview. A worldview is defined as the comprehensive set of fundamental assumptions, beliefs, and values through which a person interprets reality, makes sense of experience, and decides how to live. It is not just a political opinion, a personality trait, or a collection of favorite ideas. It is deeper and more structural than that. It functions like an internal map or operating system that quietly organizes all of your perception, judgment, and meaning. A worldview answers the largest questions human beings ask. What is real? Is there a God or gods? What is a human being? What is right and wrong? What, if anything, is the purpose of existence? How do we know anything at all? Most of this framework you probably inherited rather than deliberately chose. Family, culture, education, friendships, suffering, and ordinary experience install it over years. Once in place, it operates largely in the background, filtering what we notice and how we interpret it, often without our awareness. The unexamined worldview is not an absent worldview. It is simply one you have not yet recognized. And an unrecognized framework still shapes every judgment you make, quietly filtering evidence, privileging certain conclusions, and introducing bias, just without you knowing it. Identifying and understanding your own worldview does not eliminate bias. It makes the bias visible, and therefore more accountable. That visibility is one of the most useful intellectual skills you can develop in college, because it allows you to notice when your assumptions are doing the work of argument for you, and to test those assumptions instead of simply defending them. Worldviews can and often do change. Sometimes the shift is gradual, the result of new ideas, conversations, and experiences over time. Sometimes a single encounter or piece of evidence prompts a more sudden revision. Complete replacement of an entire worldview is rare. More often, people keep the larger structure while adjusting particular assumptions in light of what they have learned. In college, that kind of refinement is not a weakness. It is one of the marks of genuine intellectual growth. In the early 20th century, the philosopher Wilhelm Dilthey argued that human history is more than a list of events. It is also a succession of worldviews, different overall ways of understanding life and reality that rise, dominate for a time, and later give way to others. These shifts are not a straight line of progress. The same basic types keep reappearing in new forms across the centuries. Dilthey identified three broad types that repeatedly surface: Naturalism, Idealism of Freedom, and Objective Idealism. Naturalism sees the physical universe of matter and energy as all that exists. Human beings are products of natural processes, fully governed by physical and biological laws. There is no supernatural realm and no built-in cosmic purpose. Idealism of Freedom puts human consciousness, will, and moral responsibility at the center. We are not just complicated machines. We are free agents capable of real choice and accountability. Objective idealism sees the spiritual not as something separate from the world, but as inherent in it. Reality is ultimately a coherent, meaningful whole, and human beings are participants in that larger harmony. Dilthey did not claim that pure reason could prove one of these maps correct. He saw them as deep, recurring responses to the experience of life. Their value for us is practical. They show that people can organize reality in fundamentally different ways, and that those differences shape everything that follows. A worldview does more than describe reality. It also protects us. The psychiatrist and philosopher Karl Jaspers observed that a worldview functions as a kind of existential shield. It gives the mind a sense of order, stability, and safety in a world that often feels chaotic and threatening. But shields can break. When a person encounters an experience, a piece of evidence, or a tragedy that the existing framework cannot absorb, the structure itself comes under pressure. For some, this produces despair. For others, it produces rigid thinking, an attempt to force the world back into the old shape. This is one reason examining a worldview can feel dangerous. To question the lens is to risk the temporary loss of the protection it provides. Yet an unexamined lens remains brittle. The alternative to careful examination is not safety, it is fragility. We have seen that a worldview acts as a lens, a map, and even a protective shield. But what are the actual pieces that make up this framework? In the late 20th century, the Belgian philosopher Leo Apostel and a team of scholars argued that a complete worldview must answer 6 fundamental questions. These questions form a practical architecture, the clearest tool we have for making a worldview visible and usable. First, what is real? Is reality only physical, matter, energy, and empty space? Or does it include non-material dimensions, mind, soul, or spirit? Second, where did we come from? Are human beings the unintended product of blind natural processes, or were we intentionally brought into existence? Third, where are we heading? Is the future open, determined, progressive, cyclical, or moving toward some final resolution, or toward extinction? Fourth, what is good and what is evil? What has genuine value? Is the highest good human flourishing, the reduction of suffering, fidelity to a higher standard, or something else? Fifth, how should we act? Given what is real and what is valuable, what kinds of lives and decisions follow? Sixth, how do we know what is true? What counts as reliable knowledge? Sense experience and scientific method alone? Reason? Intuition? Tradition? Authority? These 6 questions are not a random list. They form an interconnected system. Your answer to one shapes the others. Together, they determine how you interpret every significant claim you encounter in history, science, ethics, politics, art, and personal life. When you can state, even provisionally, how you answer these 6 questions, you have begun to identify and understand your own worldview. Once a worldview is visible, it can be tested. 3 basic criteria are especially useful. Logical consistency asks whether the parts contradict one another. This rests on a basic principle of logic going back to Aristotle. Contradictory statements cannot both be true at the same time and in the same sense. If a worldview claims that all truth is relative, while also insisting that certain moral claims are absolutely binding and must never be violated, the 2 claims cancel each other out. The framework is already in trouble. Coherence asks whether the parts fit together into a unified whole. Even if no single statement is flatly contradictory, the pieces may still fail to support one another. For example, if your view of human nature says we are purely physical beings with no free will, but your ethics demands that people be held fully responsible for their choices, the 2 parts pull in opposite directions. The story does not hang together. Correspondence asks whether the framework matches the world as we actually experience it. A worldview can be tidy and internally consistent, yet still leave out major features of reality. If it cannot seriously account for consciousness, moral obligation, beauty, or the persistent fact of suffering and evil, then its picture of the world remains incomplete or distorted.
No worldview is beyond questioning.
The goal is not to find a perfect, frictionless system. The goal is to seek the map that explains the widest range of human experience with the least distortion. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." We can add a modern corollary. The unexamined worldview is not worth living by. Everyone already has a worldview. The only real choice is whether it remains invisible and untested, or whether it becomes conscious, articulate, and open to correction. College offers a rare opportunity to do that work, because a worldview shapes not only how you see the world, but also how you act in it. Leaving it unexamined means that some of your most important decisions are being guided by assumptions you have never seriously tested. The task is not to discard your lenses in a single dramatic gesture. It is to notice them, test them against experience and argument, and remain willing to adjust them when the evidence requires it. The glasses are already on your face. The only question is whether you will ever take a clear look at what they are doing to your vision.